a murder that shocked Korea and the world. 23-year-old Jung Yoo-Jung. What she did was so controversial that the country talked about it for days. But what did she do? How did she create such outrage? She prepared for years, planned it out, then she struck. But beyond that, the real reason she told police when caught and her explanation for why she did it will leave your jaw on the floor. When you learn what was going through the mind of this woman who became Korea's youngest female psychopath killer, you won't believe it. Born in 1999, Jung Yoo-Jung grew up with her grandfather in Busan, South Korea. Her mother abandoned her at age 1, her father at age 6. She graduated high school in 2018. She took the college entrance exam. She failed. She tried again, failed again. She tried repeatedly, failed every single time. She became unemployed. She was an introverted young woman. After high school, she locked herself in her room for 5 years. She completely cut herself off from real human relationships. She didn't go outside. She had no friends, no social life. Despite her family's concerns, she wouldn't leave her room. She spent all her time watching crime shows and reading detective novels. She developed an obsessive interest in crime-themed content. Her grasp on reality slowly began to deteriorate. According to police records, she researched methods for hiding and disposing of bodies online. She searched for how to kill, how to get rid of a body. Library records showed she'd been checking out books about serial killers in recent months. Her family became seriously concerned about Jung's behavior. They wanted her to get psychological help. Jung refused. "There's nothing wrong with me," she said. Her family insisted. Jung wouldn't listen. She locked herself in her room. No one knew what she was researching inside. Before the murder, she had no diagnosis of mental illness. However, later psychological tests revealed Jung displayed psychopathic traits. Jung developed an obsessive curiosity to experience a real murder. She wanted to live out what she'd seen on TV and in books. She chose as her target a vulnerable woman around her own age. She joined a tutoring app with a fake profile. She presented herself as the mother of a middle school student. She was looking for an English tutor. In May 2023, she contacted exactly 54 different tutors. Most were women. She messaged some, video chatted with others. She studied their profile photos, researched where they lived. Some became suspicious of Jung's strange questions and refused. Some canceled at the last minute before meeting. Jung didn't give up. She systematically continued her search. Finally, she found a 26-year-old English tutor living in Busan. She was a college student who tutored on the side. She'd never met Jung before. This time, everything would go according to plan. Jung bought a second-hand high school uniform online. On the evening of May 26, 2023, she made her move. In the late afternoon, Jung knocked on the victim's door. She wore a high school student uniform. A mask covered her face. Because of her short height and youthful appearance, the teacher thought she was a real student. She opened the door. She let Jung inside. Shortly after entering, Jung pulled out the knife she'd brought. She attacked suddenly. The young woman was shocked. She couldn't defend herself. Jung stabbed her repeatedly. She didn't stop. The victim fell to the floor. Jung kept stabbing. The investigation would find over 100 stab wounds. Jung had continued stabbing obsessively even after the victim died. The young teacher lost her life at the scene. The murder was complete. Now it was time to dispose of the body. Jung didn't panic. She didn't rush. She washed her hands. She left the apartment. She walked to her own home. Security cameras recorded her every step. Jung was completely calm. There was no sign of tension in her face. She looked like any ordinary student coming home from the store. She arrived at her home. She grabbed a large suitcase. She headed back. On the way, she stopped at a store. She bought large trash bags, bleach, cleaning supplies. She went to the register. She paid. She thanked them. The cameras recorded these moments too. Experts would later be shocked reviewing the footage. There was no abnormality in Jung's facial expression, body language, or walk. She'd killed someone an hour earlier, but her behavior was like any person doing routine shopping. Jung returned to the victim's apartment. She began dismembering the body with the supplies she'd brought. She worked with cold precision. She was methodical. First, she cut off the victim's fingers. She wanted to make identification difficult. Then she cut the body into smaller pieces. She took off the bloody school uniform. She put on the victim's clothes. That way she wouldn't attract attention leaving the apartment. She placed the body parts in large trash bags. She put the bags inside the suitcase. Jung took the victim's cell phone, ID card, and wallet. She planned to make it look like the woman had simply disappeared. Midnight was approaching. Jung dragged the full suitcase out of the apartment. She walked to the street. A taxi stopped. Jung got in. The driver looked at the suitcase. It looked heavy. Jung said, "I'm moving." There wasn't a tremor in her voice. She told the driver to take her about 12 miles north of Busan near the Nakdong River. The taxi pulled away. Throughout the journey, Jung sat quietly. The driver glanced at her several times in the rearview mirror. A young girl. Midnight, a heavy suitcase. It was strange, but he didn't say anything. Half an hour later, they arrived near the river. The forest began. Jung stopped the taxi. "I'm getting out here." She took out the suitcase. She paid the driver. The taxi drove away. Jung dragged the suitcase toward the wooded area. It was dark, deserted. She unzipped the suitcase. She took out the bags. She threw them among the trees. She left the suitcase empty. She returned to the main road. She called another taxi. On the way home, she was smiling. She thought she'd committed the perfect crime, but she hadn't accounted for one thing: the first taxi driver. The driver was disturbed by what he'd seen. A young girl, midnight, forest, heavy suitcase, and those bloodstains on the suitcase. The driver thought, "What should I do? Should I call the police? Maybe I'm overreacting. But what if there really is a problem?" Finally, he made a decision. He picked up his phone. He called the police. "I had a strange passenger. She took a heavy suitcase into the forest at midnight. The suitcase was bloody." Before we continue with the video, make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this. Turn on notifications and give this video a like. Police teams sprang into action following the report. They went to the area the driver described. They searched the wooded area. They quickly found the suitcase. They found the bags inside. When they opened them, they froze. Body parts. Crime scene teams were called. Security camera footage began to be reviewed. The cameras showed Jung, her exit from the woman's apartment, her trip to her own home, her return with the suitcase, her shopping at the store, getting into the taxi. Everything was on record. Jung had entered the woman's apartment in a school uniform, but when she left, she was wearing different clothes. Police identified the victim, a 26-year-old English tutor. Her name was not released. On the morning of May 27, 2023, police raided Jung's home. She was arrested. The woman's belongings, bloody clothes, and some of the body parts were found in the house. Jung initially denied it. "I didn't kill her. She was already dead when I got there." The evidence showed this was a lie. She changed her statement. "We got into an argument. It was an accident." This was also inconsistent. Police exposed the contradictions. Her family begged Jung to be honest. Jung finally confessed. She admitted she'd planned and committed the murder. Police asked, "Why did you do it?" Jung's answer shocked everyone. "What I saw on TV and in books made me curious. I wanted to try it. I was just curious." She'd killed someone just because she was curious. The investigation deepened. It emerged that Jung's plan wasn't limited to one murder. The day before the murder, she'd invited another young woman to meet near the Nakdong River. She'd backed out because the place was crowded. She'd also attempted to meet other people through the tutoring app. Jung had been searching for a victim for a long time. South Korean police released Jung's identity on June 1st. On June 2nd, she was brought before the press. "I'm sorry. I wasn't in my right mind," she said. The public didn't find her apology sincere. The trial began. Jung used an insanity defense. Her lawyers claimed she'd been having hallucinations and was in psychological distress. The evidence showed otherwise. Jung's behavior before and after the murder was highly planned and deliberate. The court rejected the mental health defense. On November 24, 2023, Busan District Court announced its decision. Jung was sentenced to life in prison. She was also ordered to wear an electronic monitor for 30 years if released on parole. Prosecutors appealed for the death penalty. Defense attorneys requested a reduced sentence. In May 2024, the Supreme Court upheld the life sentence. Jung's profile sparked debate in South Korea. Experts drew attention to the dangers of young people's feelings of loneliness, social isolation, and immersion in the virtual world. Jung had locked herself away for 5 years, stayed away from real relationships, and immersed herself in dark crime stories. Her perception of reality had become distorted. Her words, "I was just curious," were cited as an example of the consequences of excessive exposure to fictional content. Jung, who killed an innocent stranger simply because she was curious about what it would feel like, entered South Korean history as an unusual criminal profile. The Jung Yoo-Jung case went down in history as a real case showing humanity's darkest side. So what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with your loved ones.